Hey folks, this is the Between the Interviews show where I'll provide some context, background, reflections, and recommendations associated with the Capitalism for Good philosophy. While the interviews are obviously focused on highlighting businesses and their leaders through talking about their experiences and philosophies, the Between the Interviews shows will be mostly me connecting the dots, providing some additional insight, spotlighting the things that I'm listening to, reading, and watching in order to learn more, as well as some of the why behind where I am choosing to put my dollar. These Between the Interview shows will be sprinkled in between the interviews and will be posted on the main feed, but will also be posted weekly on the Patreon in video form. So if that's your jam, head there. There's a link in the description. Folks, what's good? What's new? Do people still say what's good? Did I just show that I am a million years old? I really do identify with being a grandma. That is not the point today. The point today is what's new. The goal of the project, the whole entire Capitalism for Good project, is still the same: to interview 100 business leaders making a positive impact on their internal and external communities. Not necessarily meant to be a definitive black and white guide to which companies to support, but more like an opportunity to explore what's going on out there and for anyone to learn right along with me if they so choose. But there are things that have changed since I first got started, mostly because that's how it just began. I just started, and as things have evolved, I've learned more. I've talked to people about it and gotten some feedback as far as what other folks are interested in, the things that they like and don't like about this project and the way it's presented and all of the things. So we'll start with the interviews. There will be 100 interviews with business leaders. That is not changing. Posting the interviews on podcast form on all major podcast networks, like right now what you're listening to. I do little write-ups on them on the blog that is on my website, capitalism-for-good.com. That is a business website, so it also tells you about the other things that I have going on. If you are interested in any of those, hit me up. Happy to talk through and explore what that might look like as well. Okay, so things that have changed. I, as a person, as a human, am not very skilled when it comes to social media. I don't totally know what I'm doing. If we go back to me being a grandma, I am just the most out of touch when it comes to social media. Up until, I would say, probably a week ago, did not understand what TikTok was, had not really been exposed to it. I think I had been sent like via text message people's TikToks, but I had not been on TikTok. And so I say all that to say I've had like a real crash course, because I know that most of the rest of society is involved in social media, so I knew that was going to likely make sense to be a part of all of this. So I started with an Instagram. If you don't follow it, it is at Capitalism for Good podcast. The good news is all of these things that I will talk about will be in links in the show notes, in the blog, on the website, capitalism-for-good.com. If you are following along on the Patreon, put a pin in that. We'll talk about Patreon in a second. If you see a link that says bio.site/Andrea Masterson, that is a one-stop shop that'll take you to all of the things. So if you are engaged in different kinds of social media, if you're looking for the business website, if you're looking for just like, who the heck am I? What are we talking about? All of those things all are organized onto that bio site. And then there are all of these other offshoots of it. Okay, back to Instagram. Started with Instagram. I made my first ever, I think ever in my entire life, reel, and have been using that as a tool to not only just connect and promote the things that are going on with this Capitalism for Good project, but also is a research tool to see what else is going on out there. Who are the companies and the people that might be a good fit to talk to and highlight through this project. So that was kind of a little bit of a surprise to me, probably not to anyone else who uses social media, because it's just probably like, duh. But that was a good, pleasant surprise for me. So I took that and have now expanded that into Blue Sky. And very quickly when I started this, I started in video form because that is the way in which I function and interact with podcasts. I am the visual person. While I don't watch a ton of TV, and maybe even when I'm putting a podcast on, I'm not sitting there like this all the time and just like zeroed in. You know, it is 2025. I'm a grandma, but I am also a person of the world. So much like other people, sometimes that is just on in kind of background and I glance in and maybe I'm working on something else. But either way, I digress. That is the way that I enjoy watching and following a lot of the podcasts. So I pretty quickly started with YouTube as well. So all of the interviews are posted onto YouTube. On YouTube, we're at Capitalism for Good podcast. Follow along there. Another thing that I've had for a really long time, but quite honestly have not been active on it, have not really used it. Every once in a while I'll get on and I'll peruse and I'll like someone's post from a month ago or something like that, is LinkedIn. However, that was kind of like a duh moment that happened, I don't know, 3 or 4 weeks ago or something like that, that I should be using LinkedIn more for this project because I'm talking about businesses. LinkedIn is business focused, career focused. It was kind of a natural thing together. So if you are active on LinkedIn, that is my personal page. So at Andrea Masterson, and specifically doing shout outs to those leaders and those companies as well, trying to give them back some visibility in exchange for their time and their wisdom. So I am expanding the social media presence as it relates to this project. So if you engage in any of those things, Instagram, Blue Sky, YouTube, TikTok, LinkedIn, and Patreon. Does that count as social media? I'm not sure. But Capitalism for Good is there. And truly, if you are on any of those platforms and you are active, one, if you are an expert and you are interested in giving me any tips, talking to me about it, or any of those things, please, please, please let me know, because I, much like trying to understand the inner workings of the brains of the people that we interview, I also love to just absorb information and learn, and I'd love to learn from the experts that are not me. So hit me up, follow me, please leave a comment or like it or something and let me know that I'm doing a good job, or send me a DM and give me some tips to not look like I'm 104 years old. All right, so I mentioned there's a Capitalism for-good.com website. That is the business website, so it has all of the things that I personally am working on under my company CFG LLC, which includes this Capitalism for Good interview project. That is a component of it, but there's also more that is there. One of the things that is very new there, which came from a recommendation from someone else, is a list of companies and organizations that are mentioned in the project. So not only the companies these leaders work for or are involved with or are shouting out, but any of them that get mentioned along the way, whether it is something very specific and we want to highlight, or maybe it's something that I mentioned that I'm using, or a part of the I'm not trying to tell you what to do, but here's where I'm putting my dollar. All of those companies and organizations are all listed and organized on the website under the blog and transcripts tab. At the top, there will be a link that will take you to it. I tried to make it as organized as possible. It is evolving and will changing. If you have other recommendations or requests, please let me know. But there are links to their websites, there are keywords, little notes about some of them, and there are also a couple referral and discount codes. That is also new. There are just a couple that have come up along the way so far, but those are posted with the associated company by episode on the website. So if you hear about something and you are interested in it but maybe you didn't fully understand what we said, or you don't remember, or you were driving and you didn't stop to take notes like what I do, maybe you are like me and you just have 4,400 voice notes and little reminders to yourself to look things up later. So look up this list. That'll take you to what you're looking for. Next, these Between the Interviews episodes have evolved to be shorter, yes of me yammering on, more from the experts. They will still be out weekly on the Patreon. There's a video version of it, and there is an audio version of it as well. One of the things that has rubbed off from Shannon Masterson's inclusion and accessibility champion exploration has been that I am also a big advocate of having multi-sensory options, because we all learn and absorb information differently. So if you are a visual person, if you are an audio person, if you like to listen to conversations, or if you would rather just read a blog or read little snippets of things, I still want the information to be available to you should that be something that you connect with and are interested in. Okay, so I've put a lot of pins in this. Extras in the Patreon. So this entire interview project is funded through Patreon, or you can support it directly through, there's a link in the bio site. Essentially, if you are getting anything out of this and you are interested in more, if you are interested in being involved, if you are interested in supporting, the best ways to do that are direct support via the bio site link or through the Patreon. If you support through the Patreon, first, thank you very, very much. It is very helpful. This entire project is it takes a lot of work. It takes a lot of research. It takes a lot of coordination. I really want to make sure that there is quality information that is being presented in it, and it is also a big learning opportunity. And since they take up a lot of time, the ability to have it supported through the Patreon helps keep things moving and keeps this project going. So thank you so much if you're already supporting. If not, please consider. There are more behind the scenes little tidbits, there are videos, there are extra blog posts, fun little goodies and extras as well, depending on the way in which you choose to support. So if you are interested in those things, especially anything that's like truly behind the scenes, that is my recommendation, is to check that out. That one is at Capitalism for Good. I'll also make sure that that is all posted in the show notes. It's all linked together, also found on that bio site. These next ones are just kind of like the feel-good portions of it. I absolutely love the research and discovery parts of this. Especially the pieces where I am learning so much from the folks that we're interviewing, and they're exposing me to things that I had not previously thought of or heard of or had known about. And that has been personally really exciting for me, as well as just discovering and rediscovering things about myself. So my love of writing, my love of talking to people without being so cynical, researching what's going on, finding solutions. So like running into a roadblock and then being able to like work my way around it, and being able to do that for my own project has been really exciting. It is really the first time that I've done it on my own versus taking someone else's dream and finding solutions and efficiencies and ways to really push that forward. I have loved being able to do that for other people, but being able to do it for something that I personally am passionate about, for my own dream within this project, has been a true joy, and I'm really excited about that. And I'm also pleasantly surprised and excited and thankful for the community that is starting to pop up and grow throughout this project as well. So thanks so much for being here. Thanks so much for being involved. Thanks so much for letting me know what you think. Send me all of the recommendations. I love talking about this. If you see me out in the wild, for sure stop me and talk to me about it, because I could talk to people about any of these topics, about how we're just like leveraging good within our communities in order to really make some positive improvement and really like make the future better. I just get so jazzed about it and I love it so much. So don't shy away. Let me know what you think. All right, what is next? So the Between the Interviews episodes, while I thought that it was really important to give some background and some context about where I was coming from and how this all got started and the perspective that really launched all of this, now that we are starting to hear from those true business leaders through these interviews, and that is the real goal and the real point of it, you'll hear more of those interviews. They'll start to come out weekly. That is all based on the caveat of scheduling and being able to, in support and being able to keep things moving forward. So if there are any interruptions, just bear with me. There might be some weeks where it might make sense to pause or to talk about something else. I'll still sprinkle in some of these between the interview episodes, but there will start to be less of them and more of the experts as we move on. If you love the Between the Interview shows, those will still be weekly on the Patreon, so check that out. All right, moving on to what am I watching? It's actually like on in the corner of the room here. It is Royals baseball. Right now they're playing the St. Louis Cardinals. They're winning 2-1 currently in this exact moment. And that is, my love for Kansas City and for sports analogies just goes a little bit beyond Chiefs football. I love all of the Kansas City sports, and you know by now that I love sports in general, specifically a long-standing Royals fan. And this weekend, through playing the St. Louis Cardinals, the other Missouri team, they've also been reminiscing about past World Series wins by bringing these former players to celebrate and honor their accomplishments. And I know that nostalgia is a little bit oversaturated in the zeitgeist these days, but I'm not sick of it. So I think that it's a good reminder to all of us to celebrate the hard work in the wins, big wins, small wins, World Series wins in all of our respective lives. And especially as our goals and priorities evolved and shift over time, just like this project has in the very short time that it has been going on. I think it's also important to look back at our past successes to see how that can serve as a reminder of where each of our focused abilities can take us in the future. And that is something that is inspiring and motivating to me. Yeah, it's just baseball, but it's a little more than baseball. There's a reason why I love sports so much. And then finally, I'm not trying to tell you what to do, but here's where I'm spending my money. Food to cook at home. I love the actual act of cooking, maybe even more than I like eating and enjoying my own food. I just like it as an activity. I really love cooking without a recipe. And actually, I'll rephrase it in a less like patty positive way. I thrive on not following a recipe, and am not great, in fact, at following recipes. It feels very tedious to me. I like the creative aspect of it. We've also talked about how I love to give myself these little challenges, these little goals to move myself through the day. And so one of the things that I'm constantly doing is, okay, what is in the kitchen? What is in the fridge? What do I need to use up? And then challenge myself to like make something out of all of it. What I just did the other day was I had zucchini and sweet potato that I really needed to use up before any of that went bad, and so I combined those with some seasoning and some egg, a little bit of flour, and made these like sweet potato zucchini latkes, these little fritters of sorts. Fried them up in a pan with some butter. Obviously made too much because that's, what a lot of us do. So then I froze them and then ate the leftovers actually earlier today after my workout. That was really, it was just, I also think that giving myself these little challenges, like, make something out of these like seemingly 5 random ingredients or whatever it was, gives me a little sense of accomplishment and excitement that I did something and I accomplished it, and that it's working, and that I was able to make it happen. So, I spent my morning the other day doing it. I also like, listening to a podcast, listening to a book. I almost said book on tape. Listening to an audiobook. That day I caught up with a handful of friends via the Marco Polo app. Maybe that should go on my list. Shout out Marco Polo. I love it. I love that it is less intrusive of, not everyone loves a random surprise FaceTime. I do. If you are in my life and you want to random surprise FaceTime me at any time, if I am paying attention to my phone, which I can't guarantee that I always am, but if I am, I will always answer. I like it, even if you just... Shout out to my friend Molly, who will Marco Polo sometimes from her car, and it's just like face up and you see the ceiling of her car, and like, I don't care. I want that because it kind of makes me feel like I am in the car with you, or like, are you out on a walk or whatever it is, or you're in the middle of a workout, or cooking some zucchini and sweet potato fritters. I think it's fun, especially as my kind of crew has spread, including myself, has kind of spread all over the place. It's nice to be able to still keep in touch and to still have that quality time, even though we're not in the same city, we're not geographically next to each other and like in the same neighborhood, to be able to drop by. And then it's also a little bit easier, so you don't have to like try to schedule around all of our crazy lives. You just get to it when you get to it, and sometimes that is 14 times a day, and sometimes that is once a month or whatever, and that is fine. So anyway, that was a little tangent. Shout out that I surprise one bonus for Marco Polo as well. So, all right, I think that's enough. Let's go leave this world better than we found it. Leave this world. Are we dying? All right, that's enough. Let's go leave this place better than we found it.